All right, so I'm going to destroy all credibility that I will ever have as a reviewer of film and say that there's actually parts of Madame Web that I really enjoyed. So for those of you who don't know, Madame Web is directed by S.J. Clarkson and stars Dakota Johnson as the titular character of Madame Web. It's a Marvel Comics movie based around a character that basically no one cares about, but that's besides the point. And it is no secret that this movie is getting a ton of hate right now. It's similar to the whole Morbius situation where Sony released a movie about a Spider-Man character with little to no mention or appearance from Spider-Man, and it's a complete train wreck, and according to the internet, they're 2 for 2 now. So, as per usual, I do want to start this review off by talking about the things that I enjoyed in Madame Web. And the first thing I want to say is actually, surprisingly, the actors. Now, I'm not going to say the acting. I don't think the acting was bad. I don't think it was fantastic, top-tier Oscar-worthy performances or anything like that. But, they're doing what they can with what they got. I'm just going to say it right now. I know this is the good section, but the dialogue in this movie is it's not great. It's not well-written dialogue for the most part. It's pretty cringy for the most part, but the actors are actually they're doing a good job with what they have is what I'm getting at. And the main 4 girls, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and pardon me, but I forgot the names of the other 2 actresses. They have a good dynamic together. They just do. I don't know. They're fun to watch on screen together. They're a good cast to be together, and they're clearly having fun, and you can tell, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing that you can tell they're having fun. But yeah, I actually enjoyed the main 4 characters being on screen together. It was fairly enjoyable to watch, in my opinion. And another thing I want to give props to is the action sequences. There is a good couple action sequences actually where I'm all right, this isn't bad. This is a pretty decent action sequence, at least in my opinion they were. And now I know it seems like I'm kind of skimping on the things I liked, but the reason for that is I'll get more into the things that I like and what sort of makes me enjoy this movie towards the end of the video. But for now I will talk about the things that I didn't like very much. And I want to start off with the most surprising thing. One of the things that I didn't super love about the movie is the character as a whole of Ezekiel Sims. Now, this surprised me because I was expecting him to be the character that I found the most interesting and entertaining to watch, but I just didn't. I guess his suit is kind of cool. It's this rip-off Spider-Man type dude. His suit looks kind of cool, but he himself is not very interesting in this movie because I don't want to hop too much into spoilers, but his motivation and his entire reason for being around is not interesting or fleshed out at all. So he was the least interesting character in the movie, which surprised me actually. And another thing is this movie feels like it is a victim of what a lot of Sony Spider-Man movies are a victim of, spin-off or otherwise. It feels like it's stuck being made by someone who wants to make a movie, but the studio wants to make a different movie, but whoever's running, multiple people want to make different movies, and all of them sort of come through in different aspects of the movie that comes out, but none of them work because it's trying to be multiple different things. So now I'm going to hop into why I actually sort of enjoyed this movie. I did watch it from a bit of an objective standpoint. I'm going to come out and say, this movie is not good. It's not a good movie, in my opinion. If you want to sit down with a recommendation for a good movie, this is not going to be the movie I recommend. What I enjoyed about this movie, as odd as it sounds, is seeing the potential of what it could have been. Does that sound weird? Yes, it really does, and I will explain why, but it is going to involve heavy spoilers, so anybody who doesn't want spoilers and wants to see this movie for themselves, just go in with completely blind and no spoilers. Click off the video here because I will be diving sort of into spoilers. I don't know how deep yet, but I just don't want to ruin anything for you. So, yeah, if you're clicking off now, this movie is not good. There's a little bit of fun in it. Go watch it because, you can make fun of it, but it wasn't super great. But yeah, I'm going to move into the spoilers now. So I'm going to start out by saying there's definitely some very cool ideas in here. Like, I don't know, like I thought it was kind of an interesting choice to have Ben Parker, a younger Ben Parker, be the paramedic who is Cassandra Webb's partner. That was kind of cool. Like it was nice to see Ben Parker do a thing in a movie that wasn't like, just die for Spider-Man's backstory. I mean, we all love him for that. I love him for that. I just thought it was kind of cool that they're going into the Spider-Man universe before there's a Spider-Man, and they're showing these characters, and it makes you think maybe they're not going to be afraid to mention Spider-Man, but they are, unfortunately. They are. They don't mention Spider-Man or Peter Parker at all. But unfortunately, there is some good ideas in here. Like I said, there's some cool ideas. I think setting it in a time where you have your central character around younger versions of characters we know very well, like Ben and May Parker and then Richard and Mary Parker. I think that's a really cool idea and a really good setup for what this movie could have been, which I will get into in just a second. But amongst those, there is some really, and I do mean really, bad ideas in this movie. Like, it opens up with arguably one of the worst ideas in this movie, at least in my opinion. The opening scene, like we all know the infamous, like, studying spiders with my mom in the Amazon before she died line from the trailer. So the opening scene takes place in said Amazon with Ezekiel Sims and Cassandra Webb's mother. And, Ezekiel Sims is the bad guy, so he kills or tries to kill the mother once she finds this spider, and he runs away with it, but she's pregnant with Madame Web, and she gets saved by these, like, Spider-Man, like, natives to the Amazon. Like, they're these native people in the Amazon who have, like, I think body paint and like clothing that make them look sort of like Spider-Man as we know him, with like the red suit with like the webbing patterns. They kind of look like that. So it was like they start out this movie with one of the worst decisions in it, to have these like native spider people. And it was a very odd choice to have them in there, and they take the mom to like this pool where she gives birth to Madame Web and then dies, and then they say that Madame Web has powers and she'll come back for answers soon. That was a dumb way to explain the powers. That was just not a good idea. I mean, you could have easily replaced that whole section, even the Amazon, with just Oscorp. Like, at this point, like, they've said that this spider is, like, naturally occurring, and, like, maybe it's a different spider than the kind that, like, bites people and turns them into Spider-Man. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is now that I'm talking about it. But, like, make it a prototype or, like, a different kind of spider, something that maybe Richard Parker and Norman Osborn are working on. Make this whole sequence take place at Oscorp. Make Ezekiel Sims break in. You can even have Cassandra Webb's mom working there and have her, like, on the brink of death, but she uses the spider venom to keep herself alive long enough to deliver her child, and now her child has powers. Like, I know that's not the greatest story of all time. Like, that wouldn't win any awards. That wouldn't be fantastic. But I think setting it in Oscorp instead of the Amazon, where some, like, native Spider-Men save her, like, I think that would have been a better idea. Now, like I said, this movie does feature a young Ben Parker and a young Mary Parker. And they mention sort of Aunt May. They mention the idea of her, but they never drop her name. They mention the name Richard Parker, but we never see him. And it's primarily Ben and Mary Parker who show up. Now, in this film, Mary Parker is pregnant with her child, who, as we all know, is Peter Parker, Spider-Man. But we never hear his name. We almost do at one point, but we don't. And this is where I think the movie went wrong. Towards the beginning of the film, Ben Parker is introduced, with segues into the introduction of Mary Parker, which it makes you think that the movie is going to go in the direction of that being a big plot point, but it simply isn't. It sets it up to be, but it never becomes one. It just becomes basically a glorified Easter egg that Spider-Man is going to be born. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Ezekiel Sims character. I think he was pretty boring in this movie. His whole motivation was he had a dream that in the future, the 3 teenage girls become Spider-Women and they kill him. And so he wants to stop that because he doesn't want to die. And that is his big motivation. That's the best he got. He does not want them to live to become Spider-Women to kill him, which, like, fair enough, dude, I wouldn't either, but it was just not a compelling motivation for him. And I think it would have been infinitely more interesting if his dream sequence showed us Spider-Man. Like, the Spider-Man, Peter Parker, as we know him in the future, being Spider-Man, putting a stop to whatever it is Ezekiel Sims was doing with that spider venom that he stole. And so, because of that dream, he wants to kill Mary Parker before she can give birth to Peter Parker and let Spider-Man live. You could even extend that to say that, like, he knows about Spider-Man and these other girls are going to also become Spider-Women, so he just wants to kill them all so that there never is spider people to stop his evil plan. Like, even if he wanted to, like, to kill these three, like, Spider-Women and not have to deal with, like, Spider-Man at all, that's fine, but, like, give him an evil plan that they're gonna stop. It's literally just, like, they jump him, and he does not want that, so he decides to kill them. Now, to my knowledge, this whole Mary Parker thing, this is not an original idea from me. I don't think it is. At least to my knowledge, this was the original plot of the movie, which is probably why it seems like it's setting it up so much. I just feel like that would have been such a more interesting plot line. And I feel like had they ran with that, and I feel like it could have been a really, like, cool and interesting and unique comic book movie. Like, that was one of the things that I liked about watching this movie. It was, like, unfortunate because I could see potential of a movie that wasn't going to reach that potential because it went a completely different direction. But it was kind of cool to see and think about what this movie could have been. It's almost like watching those videos on YouTube, like what could have been, like movies that were almost made, like how they almost made certain movies. It was almost like that. And honestly, it comes through for most of this movie, like going in knowing that that was the original plot idea, at least to my knowledge. It comes through in a lot of the scenes. Like, you can see and you can tell, like, okay, this is probably from the original version. This is probably how this played out in the original version. It just feels like the movie decided to put on this whole other plot to pivot in a complete other direction because they didn't want to mention Spider-Man or, like, talk about any details of their own Spider-Man in this universe, just so they could have a sliver of a chance of possibly crossing over with the MCU. I think that's Sony's problem. I think that's why they won't use Spider-Man in these movies, is because they want that chance to cross over their movies with the MCU. But they can't do that if they start setting their own rules and lore and background for Spider-Man. So yeah, at the end of the day, guys, no, Madame Web is not a good movie. I'm not going to sit here and try and say it's misunderstood and gets too much hate and how people need to give it another chance because it's actually secretly great. Unfortunately, it's not. It is not that good of a movie. I just enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed seeing the potential of what it could have been. And on top of that, what it became was a really, really dumb movie that had, honestly, the dialogue, I can't come up with an explanation for that. That was just bad. Do better. But it was so enjoyable. I watched it with a couple of my coworkers, and we had a lot of fun laughing at it. And I just had a good time watching it. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I didn't think I'd spend 15 minutes talking about Madame Web. I thought I would see it and make a video saying basically, yep, it's bad, crack a couple jokes, and then leave it be. But this one was definitely an interesting experience. I had fun watching it, and I'm still kind of thinking about it. But it's like almost frustrating because I just wonder what it could have been, you know? Anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new. Let me know if you're actually enjoying these film videos. I know my story times typically do better on the channel, but a couple of the film videos have done pretty good. Like my Dune video didn't do too bad. So let me know if you guys actually enjoy these. If there's a specific movie you want me to talk about, I will. If it's a movie that's coming out in theaters, sure. If it's an old movie, also sure. I just love movies, and I'll talk about anything that you guys want, to be honest. Anyways, I'm going to shut up now. This is a 14-minute video about Madame Web, which I never really thought I'd be making. So thanks for watching, you guys. I love you all. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.